Hey everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul. We're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
THS Remote Supports is clearly focused on improving independent living through dynamic and personalized services. Their systems have been carefully developed and perfected to ensure that everyone receives the best care through the least intrusive means possible. Located in Cincinnati, Ohio, they've spent over 20 years providing in-home supports to individuals with disabilities. If you or someone you know is looking for a remote service provider, go to thsrss.com or call 513-882-9088.
How much time do you spend on culture? Lindsay, you're a new kid, so we can't. How about you? How much time do you spend on culture? Come on. No idea, okay. Carla, how about you? As much as we can. Michael.
I would say about 70%, because I've been trying to reevaluate
Okay.
what is our culture, and I actually have talked about it over the last year.
Excellent. All right, so 70% for Michael. You know, we typically hear in these workshops, oh, I wish I had more time to work on culture. Here's the good news. You're working on culture every minute with every interaction you have with somebody on your team. Every interaction can be an opportunity to improve your culture. It's by listening to the things we say. It's sort of, I was relating the story to someone earlier about my grandson getting some assistance from Scott on homework in math. And Spencer will get exasperated and say, I'm bad at math. And it's like, he's in an advanced math course. Of course he isn't bad at math. So it's like when we go to somebody and all we're doing is complaining, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. Listen to ourselves, because there's a better way to express this and build that culture. You know, I recognize you can't sit down with somebody and have an hour conversation with everybody, but you know, think about how we interact with the people we support. So how can we better support staff? As I just said, when we get a new client, a new person to support, what do? We get to know the person. We ask lots of questions. We find out what their interests are, what their goals are. We don't just instantly decide that, man, I can develop this ISP or whatever. We have to build trust over time and have lots of positive interactions. And it's the same way with staff. You're not going to develop an instant rapport with someone. It takes time to build up that trusting relationship. And when we get that new person to support, we don't sit there and say, he's in a wheelchair. Why can't he walk? This would be so much easier if only he could walk. The wheelchair is the circumstance. It's like, no, okay, we can deal with this. We can still find out what this person wants, what do they hope to accomplish, and we will help them achieve that better life, what they want. We can do the same thing with our employees, but too often, we get rid of that person-centered perspective. And instead, oh, come on, they should not. My gosh, they can't make a grocery list. They can't even boil water. I had one workshop with the attendant say, they don't even know how to make instant mashed potatoes. You just take the box, put it in boiling water, boom, mashed potatoes. They should know how to do this stuff. Okay, they don't. I was having a conversation with somebody before this workshop about people who don't want to work. They don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. That complaint has gone on forever. It isn't just Gen X, millennials. My father used to say the same thing about my generation, and I'm a boomer, so I think we all say that. But it's like, so fine. They don't know how to cook, teach them. And as a matter of fact, one thing I suggested to that woman is like, what's the favorite meal in your residence? She said, spaghetti. I said, okay, fine. After you teach them how to make mashed potatoes, teach them how to make spaghetti, because now they'll be an instant hero in the eyes of the residents. There's an opportunity to teach them a new skill that also makes them feel welcomed by the residents. So, and of course, we've already talked about, they'll never. We don't accept that for the people we support, and we shouldn't. So let's stop saying, oh, well, they'll never. They'll never develop a work ethic. They'll never do this. They'll never do that. If we coach them, and we're real good at coaching, If we coach them and bring them along with empathy, sympathy, and better communication, they'll succeed. You are all expert at creating plans and building skills for the people you support. All we need to do is take that same skill set and apply it to our staff. So what we're going to do here is a little exercise. We're going to create a DSP ISP. Don't worry, I'm not saying you have to create an ISP for each and every team member. That isn't practical. You don't need more work. Scott and I are big believers in start simple, get fancy later if needed. The truth of the matter is, if we can address 20% of the issues, that can have an 80% impact on helping our staff. How many of you, I know like to, how many of you are part, I know up here there is a group of providers along with one of the county boards that has a life coach, and I think there are like 13 providers. Tony, you're part of it? You're part, okay. You know, that's great. I'm going to talk about some other ways, even for those of you who aren't part of a group like that, that maybe you can help one another. So when we do these exercises with providers, these are the strengths that we often hear about DSPs. Compassion, dedication, reliability, I love it, you know, adaptability. It was also like everybody had a t-shirt. I kept hearing over and over, I just go with the flow. Yeah. A lot of creativity and problem solving skills. So those are the common strengths. It's also what's important to that DSP. They want to feel appreciated and valued. The #1 complaint, both in our own surveys and Relias did a national survey, #1 complaint about that DSPs have? It's not pay. What do you think it is? Appreciation. And the second was sort of like understanding, often expressed as, I wish they'd just come here and work one shift so they really understood what we go through. So that appreciation, feeling valued, that's one reason for the exercise. Who are your best new hires, and have you told them that? That appreciation is so easy to give. Schedule flexibility. The thing we hear most about money is just the money to make it to that first payday. You know, obviously benefits are important, but a lot of benefits, counseling. Sometimes your insurance carrier will provide counseling. They want the time to enjoy what they do and the people that they're supporting and the people they work with. What's important for them is that sense of belonging, being part of a team and family. And I know we all say, oh, working here is like being part of a family. We need to show it, not just tell it. They want to be heard. They want to feel validated. They want to be trusted to do their job. Tony alluded to it before the break about letting people sort of taking the lead on some things and trust them to do their job. They want to know they're truly wanted there. That's one reason why that exercise is so valuable about going and telling new hires early on, hey, we really appreciate how you're getting started. Having clear expectations, and they want to be reassured by the people around them. Again, that sense of connection. Personal challenges, and I'm sure you could add to this list. Childcare and school, and of course, the last couple of years, that has been really crazy. Transportation. Money, I already mentioned, the money of the first payday. A lot of people are working a second job or two. We interviewed one DSP. She was one of the only ones we said, if you could ask management for one thing, what would it be? She's one of the very few who said more money. And it's like, well, wait a minute. You've been here for 28 years. How are you making this work? Oh, I'm a DSP for another place too. So I do double shifts at 2 different places. So obviously she loves the work. A lot of the people you're hiring have they don't have that reliable support system that many of us do. Work challenges, information overload and training, the documentation, conflict with coworkers. #1 reason we're finding why people leave this work, it's not the pay, it's conflict with supervisors. We know of several agencies where people would come back, but the first question I ask, is so-and-so still there? Yeah, okay. They'd leave, call me. And of course, juggling too much, and that's what's happening to the people are staying. The people you're leaning on, the people who are always stepping up over and over again, they're just juggling too much and they're burning out. But imagine how employees would stay long-term if we could give them some of the same supports like we do with the people we're supporting. Imagine what they tell others. They'd say, boy, this is a great place. Friends for life, what a great place to work. You ought to come here. So, page 3, step 1. I'd like you to write down, how have you made it work? What have you seen people do? What resources are there in the community?
Making sure that individuals are reaching the goals they have set for themselves. That's one of the many goals of Assured Health Services. If you're looking for a residential care provider or searching for ADS services, Assured Health is your go-to place. Assured Health, helping others succeed. Learn more at assuredhealthohio.com or call 419-442-8066.
Let's talk about some other things that you can easily do. Emphasis on easily do. Focus on positive interactions. How many, and think about it, and I slipped earlier, I said this to all of you. How many times do you go up to somebody on your team and say, you need to do this? How many are guilty of that? I know I am. Think of all the rules and regulations. You know what my reaction is? What if I tell Jennifer, you need to, what's your reaction? Craig, you're not my boss. You don't work here. Where do you get off telling me what to do? Truth of the matter is, if you want me or Scott to do something, probably the best way is to tell us we can't do it. But instead of need to, come alongside. We want to make a change here so that, maybe if we can make a change and improve our culture and sort of take the tension down a level, it's easier, it's going to be a better outcome for us all. If you want someone to do something, you've got to help take them somewhere they want to be. So the supervisors who are burning out or understandably frustrated, maybe there's some changes we want to make collectively so that you're not having to cover those extra shifts, so you don't have that new trainee of the week. Help them see, back to the Lego box, see where we want to go. And then just ask, are you good with that? Also, Scott and I hate this question. Tony, how are you?
Horrible. Can you help me, please?
Wasn't expecting that. Charmaine, how are you? You're great. Vicki? Still thinking about it. Say, all right, but that's for the most part. You ask people, how are you? Good, okay, hanging in there. You don't want to know. If I go home tonight and ask my wife, hey, how are you? Fine. It's not going, instead, ask questions that will start conversations. Anyone who works with us over time, you will find that you come to our meetings prepared to share good news, because we always start the meeting with, okay, Tony, what's good with you since we last met? What's the best thing that's happened, work or personal? 80-degree day, yeah. Didn't last long, did it? Welcome to Ohio. So if you start asking questions, you start building relationships. So we'll try to ask, what's best in your personal life? What's the best thing that's happened at work? Hey, we hired 4 new DSPs last week. Looking really promising. I got to it was my grandson's birthday party, so I got to spend some time with him. Things like that. Or I got to go fishing. I was talking a little bit with Paul and Tony about, I love to do wildlife photography, and my wife and I will celebrate our next anniversary in Alaska, taking pictures of bear, fly fishing, and hiking. So you start developing relationships instead of how are you. And then once you build that relationship, it makes it so much easier to, Charmaine, what are you struggling with right now? What's your biggest challenge?
Hire the people, but when they don't show back up.
Yeah, ghosting, yeah, okay. But I mean, it's easier if you develop a relationship, you have a little bit of rapport with someone, they're more likely to share the fact that they're having a problem, they're struggling with something. If you stop and think about it. I'm a new DSP. I'm struggling with something. I've asked for help on it 4 times. I just took the training. I'm embarrassed to admit I still can't handle it. And, oh yeah, some of you have open door policies. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go over Lindsay's head to talk to Tony. Not likely, not gonna happen and stuff. But if you can develop that relationship, come alongside and say, you know, what's your biggest challenge? What are you struggling with? Come on, I know things are tough right now. I get it. I've been in this position. It makes it easier for them to share. Or you know, another twist is, how could we explain this better? What can we do better? That will draw them out so you can see these problems before they reach the point that people leave. The other thing is we recommend a temperature check, and no, has nothing to do with COVID. Not my first rodeo. We, every week, with a group of clients, we send out an email at the end of the week on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being awesome. How was your week? Now, Leah, our rock star assistant, will also now include a little inspirational clip as part of those things. I think last week it was probably something for John's Crazy Socks, because John and Mark spoke at one of our meetings last week, which was really fun. But we suddenly realized that, wait a minute, we're sending out these things and getting people saying, you know, all these numbers, 8, 10, 5, whatever. We're getting all this data and we're not collecting it. So we just created a simple spreadsheet so we could track it. So if you tell me it's an 8 to 10 this week, it shows up on that spreadsheet green. You know, if it's 6 or 7, it's yellow. If we start seeing 3s or 4s red, Scott or I will reach out to you to find out what's going on. How can we help? So this is something that could easily be adapted. And by the way, if you want that spreadsheet, just email us. We'll share it. Nothing proprietary. It's a Google spreadsheet. So, you know, this can be something that can be done by text, can be done by phone call, can be done by video chat, can be done by email. The thing is, just check once a week, a simple little quick thing. Scale of 1 to 10, how was your week? And that way, if you see something that's low, you have an opportunity to go out, okay, what's going on? How can I help you? What can I do better for you? It's a real easy thing, and it can become a habit. By the way, we actually had somebody say, well, we have nobody on our team that can do that. It's like, hire a virtual assistant. There are lots of virtual assistants out there, and they're very reasonable, but this can provide you with valuable data, so it can simplify tasks. I mentioned before, so many DSPs work in isolation, or they just work in one site. So everybody's in different silos. We have no communication. There isn't that common break room where we can all sit down and chat and vent a little bit and find out about each other's. There are ways around that, and some of us became real skilled at it over the last couple of years. So you can create a private Facebook group. It's easy, people are there. We sometimes get some pushback, well, the employees are gonna vent, it's gonna be, you know, a real mess. And it's like, no, they only share positive news. Scott and I helped set up some, and we're administrators, but we never do anything. We're just sort of flies on the wall to see it. I can't recall a single post that had to be pulled because somebody complained. Instead, they share good things. They share, hey, I found this great babysitter, or here's a place that'll do, if you tell them you work here, they'll give us a discount, things like that. They share good things. It's one way to bring people together. You know, obviously we have Facebook, Zoom, FaceTime, all sorts of things. Frank Blake is the former CEO of Home Depot. And you're probably thinking, yeah, well, Home Depot, mega bucks, they can throw money at culture. Frank, as CEO, would go out to different stores every single week, put on the orange apron. He would help people work. He would help the employees, you know, stock shelves. He would help customers move stuff out to their car. In fact, somebody once said, why are you making that old guy carry all this stuff out? Oh, he's the CEO. Yeah, right. But he felt the most important way to get people in your organization to understand what you want, what you expect, was to celebrate them when you caught them doing it. And he realized he couldn't do that from his office. So he would go out, and by the way, after spending a day in a store, that weekend he would set aside time. He would handwrite a thank you note to any sales associate he saw doing something special, and not just the generic, Tony, thank you for your hard work when I was there and stuff. No, it was like, Tony, I appreciated how you helped that customer who was kind of upset with the defective thing, whatever, you handled that masterfully. And And he knew it was having effect because one time he visited a store for the second time, and an employee came up and said, Mr. Blake, can I have another thank you note? I said, why? What do you mean? I showed the first one you sent me, all my coworkers, and they said, oh, come on. The CEO of Home Depot is not going to write you a thank you note. They print these things up. If you put it underwater, it'll be fine because it's printed. It's not real ink. Well, he put it underwater, the ink ran. So he knew this was having impact. And he even remembered from working at GE when Jack Walsh gave him a thank you note, he framed it, put it on his office wall. So if you write thank you notes, please don't just say, Vicki, thank you for your hard work. Be specific. Thank you for picking up that employee when their car broke down so they could get their shift on time, or covering that shift. Things like that. Make it very specific what you're thanking them for. It will have greater impact. The other one, which I love, do a happy visit. If you go out and you're visiting a site, if you see something that's not quite what you want, don't bring it up. Stay quiet about it, make a note of it, and then pull the person aside at another time, another place. This gets rid of the, the principal's coming. We were talking to one provider, I won't mention the provider's name because they're from this neck of the woods. One of the people said, oh yeah, we have this one house that the culture there, the whole site's turned toxic. I go out there and they know I'm there to knock heads together and take names. So you're wondering why it's a toxic culture. It was like, you want to reduce that reaction, here comes the boss. During the pandemic, RHA in Dayton, the Montgomery board said, we will pay for meals once a week, but we have no way to deliver them. So RHA, the exec director, became the food delivery guy and would just chat. He'd deliver the food to the door, step back, they would chat with him. Again, he saw there was impact because one week he had to be away for a conference, and the woman who took over the food delivery, the delightful young woman, she said, they were all unhappy because I wasn't Pete. It was like, where's Pete? So just that fact that the executive director was there to deliver food and just have a conversation rather than any kind of supervisory thing had good impact on it.
The Reliable Drug and Alcohol Testing Clinic is a leading provider and convenient source of pre-employment and occupational type testing. Their clinic provides services to a wide range of private businesses, healthcare facilities, and municipal and county courts. Reliable is an independent, locally owned clinic. As a result, they provide their services at a lower cost than the major hospitals, have faster turnaround times on test results, and eliminate the long waits typically incurred at these larger facilities. To learn more, visit reliabledrugtest.com.